What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. And guys, it's a very special day. We are getting word that Star Trek legend Nichelle Nichols has passed away. This is very profound, guys. And really, when I think about Nichelle Nichols, who of course played Lieutenant Uhura in Star Trek the original series, as well as a host of movies based on that. I mean, honestly, guys, I think about her beauty more than anything. I think that was probably my very first, it's not even appropriate to say crush. I think when I laid eyes on Lieutenant Uhura, I became a man. I would say that when I was a kid, even though I was so young and I was watching it with my parents because they were the ones that introduced me to it when the reruns were coming on WPIX, Channel 11 in New York, way back in the day. And it was something about the way she wore that uniform, baby. Let me tell you, that skirt was way too small. Her body was way too curvaceous. Those boots were high. You know what I mean? I was just like, that skin was brown. Those eyes were oval. I mean, she had it all, guys. I mean, that was the first thing that like hit me. You know what I mean? But then the more you watched her, you realized that she was also very much capable. You know what I'm saying? It's like I saw Lieutenant Uhura as being extremely professional. She knew exactly what her job was. And the thing about shows back then and this whole representation and inclusion, everyone didn't have to get equal lines and equal billing and everything. Clearly, the big three of Star Trek was Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Of course, Scotty he was there, you know, he was number 4, but he was just a little bit lower. And then it was Uhura, Chekhov, and Sulu. You know, that's the way I saw it. You know, and then of course you had what is it, Yeoman Rand, and you know a few others. You know, but she played her role. You know, and she was very, very capable in that role. In her voice, she had the voice of an angel. You know, so watching her was a pleasure. And like I said, back then, you didn't have to beat that drum of diversity and inclusion. You just had to be there. You didn't have to trumpet, I'm a strong black woman. You just had to be one. You know, you didn't have to say you're making history. You just made history. And in the turbulent 60s, a lot of people needed that. You know, they needed to see that. And that's the reason why Dr. Martin Luther King came to Nichelle Nichols when she wanted to return to the stage, because she felt like that's where she came from. You know, she was a stage actress. She was a dancer. She was a performer. And like I said, when you're making history, you don't always know that. So she was ready to leave. And of course, Dr. King knew what her legacy was going to be. You know, he knew the importance of this particular role, because after all, this was in the distant future. And to have such an optimistic view, especially coming out of the 60s when nobody knew where the hell anything was going, this was very important. So he begged her, you know, he reminded her of how important it was for her to be where she was and to blaze the trail that she was blazing. And of course, she did stay. And because she stayed, she inspired so many people to do things that they probably never would have thought about. You know what I mean? So many black people got into NASA, you know, got into the space program. So many black women, you know, wanted to be professional. I mean, here she was looking freaking awesome, you know, beautiful. I mean, that 6-pack. I mean, holy cow. Look, I'm sorry. I wanted her, man. I did. No disrespect. You know, well into her 70s and 80s, I would go to conventions. I would offer myself up to her. I would. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was so much younger, I didn't care. She was beautiful. She was stunning. Truly, truly stunning. And, yeah, like I said, just her being where she was awesome, and it was amazing. And of course, you guys know I did a couple of videos on Nichelle Nichols over the years, because as she got older, she was going through a rough time. You know, there were people around her, and this seems to be like a thing that happens, you know, with a lot of our legends and older people. Stan Lee went through it too, where the people around him were more interested in what they could get out of them. They lived very, very long, so they weren't always as, you know, aware and as sharp as they used to be. And when you get like that, man, you have to make sure you have the right people around you, because you got people who are like hawks. They're like vultures, and they want to take you for all you're worth. So I did talk about that, guys. There was a petition for a while, to look out for her and everything. And honestly, guys, I am so, so happy that she's free now and she gets to be the beautiful soul that she has always been. Now, let me just read a little bit in CNN, all right, about what it's saying here. Nichelle Nichols, trailblazing Star Trek actress, dies at 89. Actress and singer and dancer Nichelle Nichols, best known for her groundbreaking portrayal of Lieutenant Nyota Uhura in Star Trek The Original Series, has died at 89, according to a statement from her son, Kyle Johnson. Let me see. It says here, last night, my mother, Nichelle Nichols, succumbed to natural causes and passed away. Her light, however, like the ancient galaxies now being seen for the first time, will remain for us and future generations to enjoy, learn from, and draw inspiration, Johnson said in a statement shared to Nichols' official site on Sunday. Hers was a life well lived, and as such, a model for us all. Nichols died of natural causes, he said. And of course, guys, like I said, you cannot overstate the impact that Nichelle Nichols had, being one of the first, being a trailblazer the way that she was. You wouldn't have so many that came after her. I mean, I'm sure it would have happened. I mean, there were performers before her, and of course there were performers after her. But like I said before, you can't say enough how important it was, to see somebody being so professional and so capable. Her voice was amazing, in the times that she sang on the show. You could tell, I mean, she was just freaking stunning, man. She was just awesome. And I loved to see her. I think she was probably one of the finest things my eyes have ever beheld, okay? I can't say it enough. I love Nichelle Nichols. I just love her so much, guys. And it's one of the pleasures, the absolute pleasures of my life, that I did get to behold such a stunning beauty. I gotta say that, man. And I mean that like in the image that she put forth also, not just her fine ass, boy. I'm talking about everything about her, and it did inspire me, as a young man, as a boy growing into a young man, growing into a man, that this was a goal of mine, to meet somebody like her, to meet somebody who satisfied all of those things, to be capable, to be smart, to be tough, to be playful, all the things that, she portrayed on the show. And her role was very much underwritten on the show. But like I said before, it was cool because that's the way the show was. The show wasn't necessarily there to dive into all of the different personalities and the origin stories and all of that. Star Trek was about professionals, professionals that knew their job and they were exploring. The real star of Star Trek was imagination, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new civilizations, and to boldly go where no man had gone before. And these people came together as a team to do that, a very diverse team back in the 60s. So when you hear people talk about that now, about diversity and inclusion and what they didn't see and everything, I always had Lieutenant Uhura. I always had her. And I didn't harp on that. She was just a capable, good character that was freaking beautiful, So let me just read a little bit more here, guys. Let me see. When Star Trek began in 1966, Nichols was a television rarity, a black woman in a notable role on a primetime television series. There had been African American women on TV before, but they often played domestic workers and had small roles. Nichols, Uhura, was an integral part of the multicultural Star Trek crew. As I said before, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. called it the first non-stereotypical role portrayed by a black woman in television history. I don't know, guys. Diane Carroll was around too. I'm not quite sure who came first, but shout out to Diane Carroll as well. She was also amazing. Nichols is widely known for participating in one of the first interracial kisses on U.S. television when her character kissed James T. Kirk. And if it wasn't James T. Kirk, I would have been very jealous. But I love James T. Kirk. I told you guys before, he's one of my big three heroes. All right, so if anyone was going to kiss Lieutenant Uhura, I would take a back seat to that. I would cuck for that. I would sit down and watch that one wherever it went. I would, damn it. And he was portrayed by white Canadian actor William Mother Effin Shatner. In an interview with CNN in 2014, Nichelle said the kiss scene changed television forever, and it also changed the way people looked at one another. Okay, after Trek's 3-season run, Nichelle Nichols dedicated herself to the space program. She helped NASA in making the agency more diverse, helping to recruit astronauts Sally Ride, Judith Resnick, and Guigan Bluford, among others. George Takei, who portrayed the USS Enterprise's helmsman Sulu, posted a touching tribute to his co-star. And of course, you guys can read this in the pinned comment below, but I just want to skip down to something else here. And just in case you didn't know this, she was born Grace Dell Nichols. Her name was Grace, which actually was appropriate because she was a graceful woman. You know, when I mean, honestly, if I didn't know that, I would automatically describe her as someone who was graceful. So that's perfect. However, she says she didn't like the name Grace, so she took the name Nichelle when she was a teenager. Now, her grandfather was a white Southerner who married a black woman, causing a rift in his family, of course. Blessed with a 4-octave vocal range, Nichols was performing in local clubs by the time she was 14. Among the performers she met was Duke Ellington, who later took her on tour. She also worked extensively in Chicago clubs and in the theater. Now, when Roddenberry was creating Trek, he remembered Nichols from a previous series he did called The Lieutenant, which is very interesting because it also starred Leonard Mr. Spock Nimoy, Walter Chekhov Koenig, and Majel Barrett, who also worked on the show, who was the voice of the computer. Later on, she went on to play Counselor Troy's mother. I mean, also the Nurse Chapel, I believe it was too. Oh, no, she wasn't Nurse Chapel. I'm sorry, guys. My agent said they're doing Star Trek, and was she? She wasn't she? Okay. My agent said they're doing Star Trek, and I didn't know what a Star Trek was, she said in an interview. She wasn't in the original script, and she was actually responsible for the name. She was reading a book called Uhura, which means freedom in Swahili, and suggested her character take the name. Roddenberry thought it was a bit too harsh, and she said, well, why don't you go to an alteration of it? Soften the end with an A, and it'll be Uhura, she recalled. And he said, that's it, that's your name. You named it, it's yours. Now, she's survived by her son, Kyle Johnson, who, like I said, for the last few years has been in a battle, for her interests, her financial interests. So I know these last few years has been turbulent for her. There was video or at least audio of her screaming at one point. So I felt bad for her. And like I said, right now I feel like this is a life to be celebrated because she's finally free. She's free to soar throughout those stars that, she pretended to explore back in the day. And now she can do it for real. So, guys, Lieutenant Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, has passed away at 89. And once again, I am extremely, extremely proud of what that woman accomplished. I am honored to have watched her body of work. I'm honored to have watched her body, but definitely, I respect her on all of those levels, guys. Don't be put off by what I'm saying because she just made me feel like a man. And I think that's a great thing. You know what I mean? Like, she turned me on not just to her body, but also her mind, her spirit. Her smile was angelic. And I couldn't adore her anymore, guys. So I have an appreciation for all of that. And guys, I just wanted to do that video because earlier when I actually got the news of it, I shed tears, and I thought maybe I was going to be doing that on camera, but then I just got happy. I just got happy because she's touched so much, and I'm so proud of her. In these days, with all of the virtue signaling and all of the identity politics thing, that goes on, it's so good to know that we have the real deal, and we had it way, way back in the day, guys. So I'm just happy about that. Nichelle Nichols, may you rest in God's peace. May He hold you, and may future generations from this day forward forever know of Nichelle Nichols and Lieutenant Uhura and the contributions she made to the consciousness of this world. Nichelle Nichols, I love you. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.